Larry Gardner of Grand Haven, Michigan. The interviewer is James Smither, the Grand Valley State University Veterans History Project. Now, Mr. Gardner, can you begin by telling us a little bit about yourself? Where and when were you born, for instance?
I was born on the Mississippi River in the state of Illinois and lived there for a period of time. My father was with the railways and got transferred to Dubuque, Iowa, and then back to Illinois, and ultimately Rockford, Illinois.
Now, did your father keep his job through the Depression?
Forever.
Mm-hmm.
He was legally blind, but the company kept him on as a good humor, as a entertainer, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But most of my family were entertainers. Quite a few in Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey's circus.
What kind of thing did they do in the circus?
Well, number one was Uncle Will. He traveled the country and put up posters. The circus is going to be in your little town. And the next brother of my dad was headman. I mean, he went out and posted the circus is coming to town.
Right.
I can't think of what the heck they call it.
Okay, but they were, all right. And then, now how many kids were in your family? Two?
Two. And my brother preceded, well, I shouldn't say preceded me, but I had one brother, and he died quite a long time ago.
All right. Now, did you finish high school?
Pardon?
Did you finish high school? How much education did you have?
I had 4 years of St. Thomas Academy in Rockford, Illinois. And I had a year at
So a year in college, or were you in a college or a university?
I got beat out of that. The family couldn't afford to send. My brother was real smart. He was a Phi Beta
Kappa,
key
yeah.
holder. Now, there wasn't enough money in the family, so we agreed to I work until he gets out. Then it's my turn. That never came.
All right. Now, what kind of work did you do?
Mostly sales. I was the guy that sold natural gas, but I wasn't selling it. They were taking it away from me. It was a wonderful job. The Michigan Gas Utility Company.
Right.
What I did is people would call and say, well, what's the chance of getting gas down to our road? I'm the guy that goes and calls a meeting at their hall, explains to them that they're going to pay for the pipeline, but you're going to get make a contract with you. You're going to get your money back and doubled. Well, I shouldn't say doubled, but whatever you use the first year, you'd get what you were assessed and also what usage you had for the year. Add them together and that was their reward.
Okay. So were you doing that kind of work when the war started?
Pardon?
Were you still doing that job when the war started?
When the war started, I was working in Rockford, Illinois, as a machinist.
Mm-hmm.
And my attitude was, why should I, a healthy young man, be making a milling machine in a factory?
Mm-hmm.
Why can't you be one of the guys? All my friends are joining
Mm-hmm.
the service. Well, I enlisted in the Air Corps.
Now, at this point, were you working in a defense plant? Was this machinist job you had?
Yes, I had
a deferment?
Deferment.
Okay.
Yes, I did.
All right, but you decided you really wanted to get into it yourself.
I didn't want to be one of the watchers. I wanted to be one of the shooters.
All right, and so what did you try to sign up for first?
First, Coast Guard.
Mm-hmm.
And my buddy, who was deceased at this time, I thought, well, I don't think there's much excitement in the Coast Guard, although they do a good job.
Yeah. Well, they wound up guarding convoys and things, so
Yeah.
they did some.
Yeah, I wanted to be a shooter.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I went to school in New River, North Carolina, on machine guns.
Mm-hmm.
So I learned how to.
Well, let's
Disassemble
back up a little bit. You were talking. Tell me about how you enlisted. Now, were you interested in the Air Corps at one time too?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Why didn't you go to the Air Corps? Or why didn't you get into the Air Corps?
Irregular heartbeat.
Okay. All right. So you tried the Air Corps, and they didn't think you should be there.
Plus the fact that my ability to recognize enemy planes, trains, or buses was slow.
Okay. So you didn't quite pass the tests they were using at that time.
I didn't cut the mustard.
All right. Now, why did you pick the Marines?
To show a little venom. The heck with the Air Force, the other force, Naval Force. I'm going to be a Marine. I'm just a skinny 110, 15 pounds.
That's pretty skinny. So you were.
Can I tell you something?
Sure.
I had boxing under Sammy Mandel at one time. To put on an exhibition boxing with Tony Galetto, who was a heavyweight. I weigh 100 and few pounds. He told me that, he says, I won't hit you hard. First blow, he knocked me out of the ring.
All right. Now, tell me about the basic training that you had in the Marine Corps.
About the what?
Basic training. What was basic training like?
Yeah.
Okay. When you join the Marine Corps, they have to train you to be a soldier.
Yeah.
What was the training experience like? What did you do?
Marched out in the hot sun, around the parade. At the time that I was going out to the parade, I had 2 teeth pulled. Bleeding. My pillow was bloody, and I got penalized for that.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to run around the parade ground 3 times. Well, that was bleeding worse
Mm-hmm.
with me shocking. What was the question?
Well, I was asking you about the basic training experience, what they had you do. Well, how did the drill sergeants act? How did they treat you when you got there?
Well, I was sent to San Diego
Mm-hmm.
from Chicago,
Right.
and I was outfitted with pants that were too long.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing was right on the boot camp
Mm-hmm.
wear.
Yeah. So what kind of training did they give you in boot camp?
One, probably the most, well, not the most important, but what to do with the gas attack.
Mm-hmm.
So we got into a building, they turn the gas on, and you put your mask on,
Mm-hmm.
and you come back out.
All right.
Those who didn't don't come back.
All right. Now, was there a lot of discipline? Did you have to learn how to be a soldier?
Oh gosh, yes. Oh, it was tough. Had to run about 15, 20 yards at a wall. My memory said it was as high as the ceiling. Hit it and grab the top.
Mm-hmm.
Over you go when you're invading a foreign port.
Okay. Now, what kind of men were training with you? Were they your age or were they younger? The other guys in boot camp.
They called me Dad.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I was older than most of them. There was only one guy that was older than I. He was a cop from Chicago.
Mm-hmm. Right. Now, how well did you adjust to being a Marine? Did you learn to follow orders quickly? Did you stay out of trouble? Or, aside from the tooth thing? But,
Well, yes, I was a model Marine. I had nothing to shame.
mm-hmm. All right. What was it? Was it easy for you to adjust to that? Was it easy for you to start to be a soldier, or?
Wishy-washy.
Mhm.
Yes, it was easy for me.
Okay. Now, did you, after boot camp in San Diego, where did you go next, or what did you do next?
To Michigan State University
Okay.
for some class. It wasn't a 4-year scholar at Michigan State,
Right.
but it was. Well, the first place I went to was Abrams Aerial Survey Company.
Okay.
I lived in Lansing, Michigan, and I had classes at Abrams Aerial Service
Mm-hmm.
for pictures, taking pictures
Okay.
for the war,
All right.
and
Now, do you know why you were assigned to aerial photography and aerial reconnaissance? How did you wind up there instead of somewhere else? Did you ask for it, or did they just assign you?
how did I wind up?
Mm-hmm.
I'm standing on the dock at San Diego. It was a group of 39 other young men. Well, it was a whole bunch. And the lieutenant or captain called off names, says, how would you like to go to Lansing, to school at Lansing, Michigan? Ooh,
Okay.
well, why me? Well, your records show that you are good at mathematics. You have an art for, thought I would fit into making invasion maps.
Okay.
So then I got that training.
Right.
I, of course, did not fly the plane. I interpreted about the terrain,
Right.
and from that we made invasion maps. And I did that all during the war.
Okay. Now, do you remember about how long you were in Lansing? How long was that training course?
A long time. I joined July, August, September. I think it was 2 or 3 months.
And was this in 1943? So you'd been
42.
Okay, so you I just want to figure out your timeline here a little bit. You enlist in the middle of 1942.
Yeah, the war was declared December
December 7th, 41.
7th, 41.
Right. And then you had told me that you enlisted in the Marines.
Coast Guard first.
Yeah.
And decided, and I did not take the vows.
Right.
I've sailed a great share of my life, but I wanted to be something else besides a boater.
Right.
So then I joined the Marine Corps.
Right. You joined the Marines, and that was about June of 1942?
Something like that.
Okay. And then how long?
It was July when I went I was put up in Chicago in a hotel.
Right.
Till we got a pack.
Right.
We were all shipped to San Diego.
And you go to San Diego.
Yeah.
And then how long were you in San Diego?
40 and 42. I'm trying to think of when the first operation was. It was. I'm headed for Guadalcanal. And I said, oh boy, nobody came back from Guadalcanal. And I guess it's the Solomon Islands.
So you were supposed to ship out for Guadalcanal, and that was when you got to go to Lansing instead?
It was on the dock.
Yeah, okay.
Being, my name was called.
Right.
How would you like to go to school in Lansing, Michigan?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. So probably that was maybe at the end of 1942?
I think it was in July. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. My mind.
Well, you would have been in training for at least a few months.
Pardon?
Well, you would have been in training for a while first, because if you join in in July of 42, they land in Guadalcanal, I think, in August, and then they're fighting on Guadalcanal to about February of 43. But the Marines are out of there by then, so if you knew about Guadalcanal and it was going on, probably late in 42 would be when they'd send you to Lansing. And then you're probably doing that training course. Do you remember if you were in Michigan during part of the winter? When you remember what time of year it was when you were in Lansing? Was it cold or hot? Yeah, okay. Winter, probably early 43.
Yes, cold.
Okay.
I lived in the Gardner Hotel in Lansing, marched to a restaurant down the road off the Capitol,
Right.
and from there I was sent to New River, North Carolina,
Okay.
and there I learned to tear down a 30 caliber machine gun, air cooled, and a 50 caliber water cooled machine gun. Then I pulled the trigger, and I had another Marine that carried the ammunition.
Right. Yeah. Now, how heavy was a 50 caliber water cooled machine gun? How big was that?
Well, the body is about that big around,
Right.
and it's water cooled.
Mm-hmm.
The 30 caliber is barrel about that big, and that is air cooled, all full of holes.
Yeah. Now, was that a lot lighter? Was that easier to carry than the 50 caliber?
Yeah, much easier than the 50 caliber.
All right. Now, do you remember about how long you were in North Carolina? Was that for a few months or?
Quite a while.
Okay. Is that where you met your wife? Was that down there?
Oh, wait a minute now. I was married in North Carolina, lonely, and I called back home to Rockford, Illinois. Little Swedish girl that I was dating, brought her down to North Carolina, New River, and we got married down there. And she immediately got a job wherever I was. Then I got transferred to California, to San Diego.
And did she go there too?
Oh yeah.
All right. Okay.
Your wife was, but she always got a job.
Right. What kind of work would she do?
She worked for the Marine Corps, some job in an office.
Okay.
I don't remember what the heck it was.
All right. Okay. Now you're back in San Diego again. Now, by this time, are you attached to a particular unit yet? Did you belong to a particular unit? Were you becoming part of the 4th Marine Division, or were you just somebody training by yourself?
I'm not sure I understand.
Okay. Were you assigned to a unit yet? Did you belong to a particular division or regiment or company yet?
I was I was with the 1st Marine Division temporarily, but shifted to the 4th Marine Division.
Okay. And so when you're in San Diego then, after North Carolina, you're in the 4th Marine Division by then?
From San Diego, I boarded ship for Hawaii.
Okay. Now, what kind of ship were you sailing on? Were you on a passenger ship or a liberty ship or?
Yeah, I call it. It was USS Pillsbury.
Okay.
And I thought it was one of. They borrowed one of a gal with Pillsbury flower boat.
Okay.
But not so. It was USS Pillsbury. By the way, en route to Iwo Jima, we got rammed. Cut right. The bow of this ship lost its steering and crashed right into the middle of it. When I got on that USS Pillsbury, I kind of laughed. I thought it was Betty Crocker's ship. There were 333 sailors, Marines killed. Because that ship that lost its steering ran right into the middle. And I remember boarding that ship, and I said, I've been sailing a lot in my life. I want a berth right in the middle of the ship because there's very little.
Yeah, you don't rock up and down in the waves. Yeah.
They said, sorry, all those beds are taken. I wound up in the tail end. Thank God for that. We got rammed, and that boat that rammed us went almost to the center of our ship. There were quite a few guys killed in that.
Right. Okay. Now let's back up a little bit in your story. You talked about you boarded the Pillsbury. Well, okay. Was that a transport ship? Was it?
Pardon?
What kind of ship was the Pillsbury? Was it a warship or a transport?
It was strictly a transport type ship. Nothing. Wasn't a fighting ship.
Right.
It was just a carrier.
Okay. Now you go to Hawaii. Now, do you just stay in Hawaii briefly, or
I
what?
stayed in Hawaii the entire war.
Okay.
That was our base. I was on the island of Maui for the entire length of the war.
Except for when you went to Iwo Jima.
Well, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, there was Roy, Namur, Saipan, Tinian, Iwo Jima, and Okinawa.
Right.
The 6 operations.
Now, were you doing map making for each of those? You were you were
Yes.
making invasion maps. Okay.
That was my job.
All right. And you did most of that work in Hawaii?
Yes.
Okay.
But learned in Lansing.
Right. But then you're sent to Hawaii, and so now you're attached to the headquarters of the 4th Marine Division.
Headquarters and service company.
Right. Okay.
But
So now,
not fighters.
right. Now, describe a little bit, what was the process for making an invasion map? I mean, how did that work?
Well, a lot of things. I'm not sure I know how to answer that.
Well, what did the men in your unit do, basically? If you're going to plan to invade an island, let's say you're going to land on Tinian or someplace like that, how do you go about preparing a map? What do you do for that?
Well, the maps were made in Hawaii, carried aboard.
Yeah. But how do you make the map? What do you have to do to make it?
There's 2 main steps. One is the first thing to fly over the island that you're going to invade, take pictures. Then my group, from that we were able to tell what kind of terrain those guys that are going to invade it
Right.
are going to run into. In one case, we had, I think, I don't know, 100 ladders because of the incline, and it was all that black sand,
Right.
You could take 2 steps and you go back
Right.
1.
Yeah, the black volcanic sand. So.
Yes,
Yeah.
Volcanic ash.
Okay. So you'd figure out what the terrain was like. Could you identify fortifications and things like that, or maybe airstrips, or man-made features too?
Could we determine?
Yeah.
Yes,
All right.
but I wasn't taking the pictures.
Right. Now you're taking the you use the pictures to make a map from.
Yes,
right?
to make the map.
Now, did you have other maps that you could work with too? Were there pre-war maps of some of these places, or navigation charts, or other things like that?
Well, navigation charts were not of my area.
Right.
I'm surface.
Okay.
The water's,
That's somebody else's problem.
yeah, that's somebody else's problem.
Okay. All right. Now, once you made a map, did you? I mean, we know you went to Iwo Jima. Did you go to the other islands too? Did you accompany the division when it made the invasions? Mm-hmm. Okay. And so there's like about 5 or 6 of these that you do.
Well, we hit Roy Island.
Okay. And where is Roy Island? Which island group is that in?
The Marianas.
It's in the Marianas. Okay.
Namur.
Mm-hmm.
Saipan. Now, I wasn't on Roy,
Mm-hmm.
and I wasn't on Namur.
Mm-hmm.
Saipan, Tinian, Iwo Jima, and Okinawa
Okay.
I was.
So was Saipan the first island that you landed on?
Yes.
Okay. Now, when did you get there? Had the Marines already taken the island, or was the fighting still happening when you got there?
I was definitely not a. I had arms,
Mm-hmm.
the rifle,
Right.
but I didn't have a sidearm, and just
Well, yeah. Well, what did you do on Saipan when you got there?
assist.
Assist with what?
I scouted at night
Mm-hmm.
to see. It was part of my job,
Okay.
besides the mapping and interpret. I was carrying maps under my arm, and I was talking to Colonel Brown, my boss,
Mm-hmm.
and his assistant, showing him the map.
Mm-hmm.
This is the best way to
Okay.
get up that area where the Japs on the high rise had a railroad track,
Mm-hmm.
and at 4:00 a.m. they rolled that out with a. I don't think I ever knew what caliber it was, but
But an artillery piece?
yes, we call it a 105 millimeter
Mm-hmm.
howitzer.
Right.
But fortunately, and we weren't going to tell them, you're shooting too high.
Mm-hmm.
Just there's big things
Mm-hmm.
were going right over out to sea.
Mm-hmm.
God only knows where it landed.
Okay. So you were actually helping the commanders on the ground figure out things like where to attack or where to try to
Yeah.
advance?
Yes, I was consulting with Colonel Brown,
Mm-hmm.
our boss, as to the best route, the least problem, it's the easiest way to get up that tier of, from the pictures that had been taken.
Right.
We interpreted them, and it didn't go right up the front.
Mhm.
The best way was going around and come in from side. So we had ships, specifically I'm talking about Iwo Jima now.
Mhm.
We had enemy. We had ships on all sides with an entire ring around it.
Right.
You know, it indicate my area of landing was Orange Beach,
Mm-hmm.
and the other troops of whatever they do had colored
Right,
beaches
right.
for them. Our our little ship,
Landing craft?
landing craft, thank you. Our landing spot, we couldn't even get near. There were ships, little landing craft, all piled up, bodies floating around, face down.
Now, was this at Iwo Jima?
Yes.
Okay. So they'd already taken enemy fire, and you're in a follow-up wave, and you can't land where you're supposed to. Well, did they dump you out there anyway, or did they move you to a different beach?
They no, the operator of the LC
Was it LCI?
I.
Yeah.
He dumped us in about 3 feet of water,
Mm-hmm.
which was
Not too bad.
not too bad. Keep our stuff up in the air.
Now, at the time you were landing, were you being fired on, or did you just have to get through stuff?
I was one of the lucky ones that had fellow Marines dropping right side of me. God saved me.
And then, when you got to the beach, were the Marines still there, or had the frontline soldiers gone inland ahead of you?
Well, there were soldiers, but they were in another part. I don't know if I included that in the picture of who landed where.
But you were landing with. There were other units who had been landing ahead of you, because that's why the landing craft were all there and the bodies and all the rest of that.
Yeah.
But when
I didn't go until the 12th wave.
right.
There were a lot of 3,000. No, I think there were 70,000.
Yeah, because there were 3 full divisions landing, so that was a lot of men.
Yeah.
Okay. So there are other men. So basically, there are other men who are ahead of you
Oh,
where you
yes.
land. Yeah.
Yeah. However, I think I mentioned that in that blurb that it was not easy. We couldn't get in very far. Too many landing craft already sinking, floating, bodies
Right.
face down. They wouldn't grind the bodies up. So we were dumped.
You dumped in 3 feet of water.
About 3 feet of water, which was
Okay. Now, once you got on shore, what did you do next?
ran.
Okay. And where do you run? Just inland, or?
Just inland.
Okay. And what was your assignment? What was your job going to be?
Well, my job was to inform the brass
Right.
what the best way would be to get to the trouble points.
Right.
Because that was part of my job.
Right. And were you also involved in getting the landing strip cleared, or clearing the airfield area? Were you involved in that? I think you mentioned something about that in the. narrative where you talk about.
I think I had a foxhole on
Yeah, you're near
landing strip 1.
right. Okay, so that's just where you were based at that point. It was
Yeah.
by the landing strip. So you saw the B-29s come in, and you saw the airplanes come in and land.
Yeah, I did.
Right.
And I wasn't even aware of it.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty dumb. I should have been looking around me.
But suddenly a big old airplane just shows up.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if they saw me
Mm-hmm.
or not. But I was in a foxhole,
Right.
so a wing going over isn't going to hurt me.
Mm-hmm. But when the first one came in, it was a surprise.
Yeah, I was looking north,
Mm-hmm.
and the plane came in from the south
Mm-hmm.
behind me. I was our main area that we were going to push off the island was in the north.
Mm-hmm.
And this plane came in on the island, on the runway that
Mm-hmm.
they had secured.
Right.
Our group that
Mm-hmm.
does that kind of thing.
Yep. Okay. Now,
Not on my job.
right. Now, how dangerous was it for you on Iwo Jima? Were you getting shot at? I mean, was that a real problem?
We got a lot of from these short range
The mortars?
mortars.
Mm-hmm.
The two kids, the 4 kids in front of my foxhole.
Mm-hmm.
There were 4 of us and one back here, and these kids in there. The mortar came down and hit those
Mm-hmm.
kids in front of us. It was pretty scary.
Mm-hmm. Now, did you go forward and scout out the front lines too? When you talked about going out at night or that kind of thing, did you go in front of the American lines sometimes to look around?
At one time, we had set a trip line.
Mm-hmm.
I was part of that. I'm back here with a machine gun. I don't remember whether it was 30 caliber or 50. But they never came when I was on the front.
Okay. So how did you were you on the front line because they were running low of men, or?
Well, I was volunteered to go to the front line to relieve
Right.
these kids that had been here for,
Yeah.
I don't know whether it was 15 days or whatever. I thought it only fair
Mm-hmm.
to volunteer. I didn't have to go.
Right.
But I was a concerned Marine that his kids have been there for 15 days or whatever it was. Why can't you
Right.
go up there?
Now, did you have a pretty good understanding of what was happening in that battle at that point? I mean, if you're with the headquarters company and that kind of thing, so you knew how bad it was. Now, did you have problems with Japanese behind the lines? Were there Japanese soldiers who would pop up in areas that were
I had
secure?
that problem, yes. They had traps, doors open up, even to a degree. A Jap with our uniform in the chow line,
Mm-hmm.
which he was talking English just like the rest of us, didn't even suspecting. There he is in the line. He had come up out of the turf.
But he was just there to get food.
just to get food.
But were there Japanese soldiers who were still behind the lines who would actually attack Americans or try to do damage?
Yes. It came up out of the ground and shoot somebody and disappear again.
And did that ever happen close to you, or did you just hear about it from other people?
I was never that close.
Mm-hmm.
In the Chow line, when the Jap was discovered in the Chow line, he was probably 5-10 yards ahead of me.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't know it until somebody up near him discovered it. He claimed, one of our people claimed, well, the guy was talking English, had our uniform on.
Mm-hmm.
So how was I to know it was? Anyway.
Well, I don't know. He might look like he was Japanese.
Yeah, I wish they'd had a sign on him, Japanese.
Mm-hmm. Well, did you have any Japanese American soldiers with you? Were there any Japanese people who would be interpreters or things like that? I mean,
the only thing that I know, I know nothing about something like that, but I do know that there were Indians.
Right, the Navajo code talkers.
Navajo.
Yeah.
Yes.
And were any of them assigned to your unit, or were they just with the front line units?
I never saw one.
Okay.
But I learned that from meetings.
Right. Okay. Now, did you stay on Iwo Jima until the whole island was secured, or did they move you off before the fighting was over?
I got off March 15th, 1945,
45.
and boarded the ship and went to be floating reserve for Okinawa. That's where I went from. Now, I never got to Okinawa. I got blown out. Well,
Pause that. Okay.
that was a storm.
Now, you were saying that you were in floating reserve for Okinawa, but you never got to Okinawa. So what happened there that...
We went to Guam.
Okay.
And quit. That was... We were going to Okinawa, but there was a terrible storm.
Right.
I don't know if you do it around Michigan, but it was a big storm.
Yeah, there were some big typhoons that went through during that time. And was that when the other ship crashed into yours? Oh, you need to hang up your phone there, I think. There.
Thank you.
Okay.
I don't hear
So,
too
so
well.
was the storm? Was it in the storm that your ship was rammed by the other ship?
We were rammed
Right.
by another ship, and they hit us right smack dab in the middle. And I remember boarding the ship. I asked the sailor if I could get a bunk in the center, knowing that that was the best place to be. He said, no, he said, those were all taken. He said, you're in the rear and way down in the bowels of the boat. Fortunately, God was with me. Because I'm not sure of this, but somebody told me that there were 333. Uh, excuse me.
Mm-hmm.
Hello? Well, unfortunately, you drew a deaf old coot.
Well, actually, you've done pretty well. Now, you were talking about you were lucky you managed not to be in the part of the ship that was hit. Now, at that point, did your ship wind up sinking, or could they tow it back to Guam, or what happened to the ship after it got hit?
Believe it or not, the sailors on board donated their mattresses.
Mm-hmm.
And they knew what to do, and they sealed it up to stop the water.
Right.
And of course, I'm sure you know that there are doors,
Right.
Waterproof
Right.
doors,
Bulkheads and
bulkheads that shut them all up
Mm-hmm.
so the water doesn't get in.
Okay. And so then at that point, you get back to Guam. Was that where you went after you were hit?
We got hit on our way to Iwo Jima.
Oh, okay. That was earlier. All right. That was right. That's right. Okay. So that was before, but you still got to Iwo Jima in time for your part of it.
Yeah.
All right. But then from Okinawa, then that was just a storm that turned you back, and you went back to Guam.
Well, we left Iwo Jima March 15th,
Mm-hmm.
1945, I think.
Yep.
And went to the floating reserve at Okinawa.
Mm-hmm.
That's, I'm sure you know, it's right on the bottom of Japan.
Right. Right.
Well, that was the end of it for me. I boarded, I landed in, what's the big, what am I trying to say? There's a bunch of islands in Hawaii.
Okay. Well, did you go to Pearl Harbor or the Oahu and Honolulu?
No, I went to
Or you went to the Big Island?
Pearl
Harbor.
Harbor,
Mm-hmm.
and that's where I was there for a short period of time,
Mm-hmm.
and then boarded ship, and where did I go?
Some went to San Francisco, some to Seattle, some to San Diego. I mean,
I came back to San Diego,
mm-hmm.
but I don't remember the date.
Yeah. So actually, it may have been that you were. I think back when we were trying to figure out your timeline, and I asked, well, do you think you were discharged before or after the time the war ended? It may be that if you're being sent home without ever actually getting to Okinawa, it might have been a little bit before the war ended that you were shipping back over.
Yeah.
Well, do you remember hearing about the atomic bomb?
Oh yes.
And do you remember where you were when you heard about it?
Yes, I do. If the atomic bomb was going to be tested at an island that was not that far out of the water.
Well, that was after the war, like Bikini Atoll and those places. Those tests were after the war was over.
Were they?
Yeah, but I was asking about when they dropped the bombs in Japan, in Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Do you remember hearing about those?
Oh yeah.
And do you remember where you were when you heard about them?
I don't remember.
Okay, you don't know if you were back in the States or if you were on a ship or you were on an island someplace?
I don't know.
Okay, well that's all right.
I have problem.
I mean, you've gotten the main part of your story told. So when you get back to the States, then you got discharged from the Marines. You went back to Great Lakes or whatever and got discharged.
Correct.
Okay, and then at that point, where did you go next? After you were out.
I went to Great Lakes, Illinois,
Mm-hmm.
and was discharged from there with $72,
Mm-hmm.
something like that.
Yep. And then where did you go?
On a bus to Rockford, Illinois.
Okay. And what did you do when you got there? Did you get a job or?
I took my company, my employer, that when I came back, they take all the enlistees.
Mm-hmm.
That
Right.
I had I didn't have to go.
Right.
back.
You had a deferment. Okay.
Deferment.
Yeah, and you go back to the place where you had been working before. Okay. And then did you get your old job back, or what did you do?
I went back because
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was the order of the day. That,
Mm-hmm.
your job would be there, but it was.
Okay.
I never had any trouble with the company.
Mm-hmm.
I was a machinist, and while being a machinist, I was a helper on a great big 100-foot-long head
Mm-hmm.
milling machine, Ingersoll milling machine, Rockford, Illinois, and got a machine myself, and then I heard about jobs at where's Chrysler made?
Michigan.
In Michigan. I went to Michigan, to Detroit, I guess
Mhm.
it was, looking for a job. I heard they were hiring at such and such. My job wasn't there when I
Right,
got back.
right.
Got back.
Okay, so you go to Michigan. Now, did you get it with Chrysler, or did you wind up doing something else?
You know, I didn't want to work in a factory line,
On an assembly line.
assembly line.
Okay. So what did you wind up doing? And what kind of career did you have in the end?
Oh, I had a friend that I knew through years.
Mm-hmm.
Went to go to Michigan Gas Utility Company. They could use so I went to the local manager,
Mm-hmm.
put me in the car. We went to Monroe headquarters. Got interviewed with the president, hiring all the people. Got the job.
Mhm.
Best job I ever had.
And kind of work did you do for them?
Natural gas.
Okay. So you've done a little bit of that before, right? Before the war, you've done some of that? Okay.
Well, I have to admit it was a wonderful job. I had a new car every year.
Mm-hmm.
I had paid
Expenses.
expense.
Right.
Did I say I got a car
Yep.
every year?
And did you do that for a long time?
Yes. Well, a long time. 15 or 17 years.
A good amount of time.
Yeah.
Do you want living in Grand Haven?
I somewhere curled up for my meeting this girl
Mm-hmm.
in Grand Haven. I'm up here. I'm in Chicago.
Mhm.
I was working for Treasury Department, canceling those people invested in the government, help the war
The war bonds.
on.
Mhm.
I worked in Chicago, playing those very soon. I was invited by my from Rockford, Illinois. Said I to go up to Grand Haven, introduce you to my intent bride, and got from Rockford to Grand Haven. Worked the second house down there, married she born and lived just Georgetown here.
You eventually met your future wife here in Grand Haven and just get married and settle down here then?
Mm-hmm.
And,
And what a wonderful. This was after I got a divorce from
Right.
the girl from North Carolina.
mm-hmm.
It has been a wonderful life.
Mm-hmm.
I got pictures of us day one.
Mm-hmm.
She had a bottle of beer in her hand. We were up at my friend's intended wife's father's photography studio in Grand Haven, and there she was drinking a beer. Yeah, she was a wonderful person.
And then you had 4 children?
Had 4 children.
All right.
And she became a judge. for the state of Michigan.
At what level? Was she a district court or circuit court or?
Let me get that.
Okay.
I always called her an adjudicator. Miss Mary Gardner, age 81. Grand Haven, passed away Monday, 29th. She was born February 25 and so forth, married to me, and so forth. And married Lawrence Gardner on September 24, 49 in Grand Haven. She was employed by the state of Michigan as an administrative law judge for the Michigan Employment Security Commission for 25 years, retiring in 1984.
So how did she wind up being a judge? How did she get that job?
Well, she worked for an attorney for quite a long time, and I don't know how she got to be a judge.
But she wasn't a judge when you met her, right?
No. She was a secretary for one of the local attorneys,
right,
who helped her meet people.
On up there.
Got connected with the state of Michigan, and I don't know where they get the judge from. But
But that particular kind of thing, if she knew how the system worked and so forth, that may have helped qualify her to do that. Did she get a law degree at some point? Did she have a 4-year college degree? Oh, okay. That's a remarkable career to wind up in then.
She is a marvel.
Yeah. All right. Now, if you look back now at the time that you spent in the service, in the Marines, what sort of effect do you think that had on you? Did it change the way you look at the world or how you deal with people?
It's in there how it affected my life. The war changed my dreams. I never got to go to college. At the time, my brother went first down to University of Illinois. I had a Phi Beta Kappa Key. He's a smart guy. And that's all I ever heard from my mother. Why can't you be like your brother? Why can't you be a football star like your brother? Why can't you? Why can't you? Why can't you? Oh God, why am I on earth? What good can I do according to my mother? Nothing. That sure sent me. I couldn't wait to get out of that house.
And you certainly did get out.
I certainly did. I ran away, so to speak.
All right. Do you think you learned anything while you were in the Marines that helped you work with people back in civilian life, or deal with people who were different from you, or deal with kind of challenging circumstances?
I think that my father had should get the gold star for handling my future. My dad went to UIU. My mother only went to well, the 8th grade.
Mm-hmm.
She was raised, but she came from an all German parentage.
Mm-hmm.
And grandfather was over 7 foot tall. Grandma was I think close to 5 feet.
Mm-hmm.
He's 7 feet.
Right.
And she's very always worried about her. If she ever fell, she'd rock back and forth like whatever. Loved her though.
Mm-hmm.
My mother got terribly angry with her mother. I'm in Savannah, Illinois. They have wine or grapevines and make wine.
Mm-hmm.
She gave me a whole big glass full like that, and I drank it and fell over on the hot stove.
Ooh.
My mother just gave her mother, holy hell. I had,
Well, how old were you then?
pardon?
How old were you when that happened?
Oh, probably 6, 7.
Yeah, I could do it. All right. Now, are there any other events or things that happened to you while you were in the service that come back to you, particular things that you haven't mentioned here today? Are there other stories or things that you want on the record?
Well, while on some island, I was hopping around to avoid getting shot. I spotted a chap up in a tree over a ravine, and he shot.
Mm-hmm.
Went through my uniform,
Mm-hmm.
or my rig, whatever, right through here.
A pretty close call.
Yeah, pretty close to not having any kids.
Mm-hmm.
They were kind of tricky.
Mm-hmm. Do you remember anything on some of the islands you went to, if you were on Tinian or on Saipan or those places, did you see anything of the civilian population or the native population when you landed there? There wasn't going to be much on Iwo Jima at all, but on the other islands, were there people living there?
Well, yeah, one island, and I can't bring it to the fore as to what island it was, but the natives were all black.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't remember what the heck the island was, but I was there.
Now, was that an island where you simply stopped and were based, or was that an island that you landed on to invade?
We had captured it.
Yeah.
And I was not in the landing. I was there after it was secured.
Mm-hmm.
They were all black people.
Okay. And it probably would sort of, it might have been Palau, or it might have been Biak or Morotai, but there's a variety of islands sort of south of where you did most of your stuff, where you have darker skinned peoples and so forth. And also if you went through the New Hebrides or any place like that, then you might see them. But
Well,
probably in the Solomons or,
Solomons.
yeah, if you stopped off there, then that's the Micronesian people there, yeah, or Melanesian rather, yeah. Okay, but on the islands though that you actually invaded, you didn't see much of anybody except soldiers.
Except soldiers.
Okay.
I dragged quite a few out of caves. I think I mentioned it in that blurb. Dragging, put a rope on her feet and dragging them out of the caves and over to a pile.
So you're pulling dead soldiers or enemy soldiers out.
Dead Japanese.
Mm-hmm.
Well, dead us too.
Americans, okay.
And we were not.
So you really got to see some very ugly stuff on Iwo Jima in particular,
Yeah.
then.
Oh, I'll tell you the most sickening thing that happened, and that is this fire shooting thing.
Flamethrower?
Pardon?
A flamethrower?
Flamethrower.
Mm-hmm.
It's a Jap, I remember, coming out of the cave to see what was going on, or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And boom,
Yeah.
he got zapped. Oh God,
Mm-hmm.
what a thing to witness.
Now, was this kind of somewhere behind the lines or whatever, or was this when you were up toward the front?
It was right in the middle of everything.
Okay.
We were slowly making our way through, and
Mm-hmm.
I just happened to be with a
A rifle platoon or a rifle company?
pardon?
A rifle company or
No, bazooka. What is that?
well, there's the bazooka
Bazooka.
or flamethrower or
Flamethrower.
flamethrower. Yeah.
Yeah. To see him, just fry him.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh.
Yeah. All right. Now, and a little bit different thing, I guess. One other thing: when you were in Hawaii, when you were on Maui, what were the conditions there like? What kind of setup did you have?
Wonderful. I claim that I had a wonderful life on Maui. Golf in the morning,
Mm-hmm.
bridge in the afternoon, movies at night. Of course, I'm in the non-fighting
Right.
community
Mm-hmm.
on Maui.
And you also you didn't go on the planes that made the aerial photography either. Yeah.
No,
Yeah. So you didn't have to make the long plane rides, and you didn't have to normally shoot anybody.
no,
So-
I didn't. I wasn't in the plane when the
Right.
pictures are taken. And somebody brought the negatives or whatever they are
Right.
to us.
Mhm.
There were 40 of us in this business of map making. Oh, I learned to be a surveyor.
Mm-hmm.
I had the transit. I'm the guy that looking through.
Right. So you could do map making or whatever, or
Yeah.
that part of it as well. Now, did you ever use that skill later on when you worked for the gas company or anything like that, or did you that was just part of the wartime experience?
I use this for my daily work.
Right.
I'd get an area that called, wanted to know about getting gas down their road,
Mm-hmm.
what it would take. I was the guy that I'd ask them to appoint somebody
Mm-hmm.
to round up those who were interested, and where is a place where we can meet,
Mm-hmm.
and I can tell you the story of how we go about it, and what you have to do, and what we will do, and so forth. Convince them that women always had, oh, will they trample my flowers?
Mm-hmm.
And I said, if they do, you come to me
Mm-hmm.
and tell me. Don't holler at them, 'cause they won't do anything.
All right.
But I've got the authority to force a group to replace anything that they damage.
Mm-hmm. All right.
I love that job.
Okay. Well, it makes for a good story, and thank you for taking the time to tell it to me today.
Thank you for